car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis, Wright, and host David Lamb.
Hello and welcome into The Attorneys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. For the next half hour, we've got a conversation that we trust will be of interest to you and would love to have you be a part of the conversation. There's ways you can be involved at the bottom of your screen. Also, as is always the case, the firm of Hollis Wright makes attorneys available to you live right now. So if you'll pick up the phone and give them a call, the opportunity to get some great free legal advice tonight during this show tonight. So be sure and take advantage of that. Leading our conversation and kind of ending our conversation, it's just the two of us, as that song says, right?
Just the two of us, my friend.
An interesting sort of show tonight, isn't it?
You know, David, I go to high schools and I talk about, at career days, about why someone should become a lawyer and what types of careers there are for lawyers. And I've kind of created the, if you will, the platform for this show. Right. And I'm going to talk a lot about some of the things that I talk about during career day. You know, not everybody can say they're passionate about what they do. And I know that's frustrating for some because they don't love the job that they're in. I'm very passionate about being a lawyer. I've been just a big lawyer advocate. Long before we ever started the show. I love to promote lawyers. I think lawyers do a lot of really good things. I think there are a lot of negative perceptions about lawyers, and we'll talk about some of those today, and I think rightly so. But I think lawyers on the whole do a really good job and have been really involved and significant in kind of the laws that we have today, and that's one of the things that makes me passionate about it.
So for you, when do you recall the idea kind of popping into your head that, hey, when I grow up, I want to be an attorney? You
know, it's interesting. I started undergraduate as an aerospace engineer major. I thought I wanted to be a pilot. Wow. About halfway through, I'll never forget it, had a real interesting conversation with my dad one night late, just kind of like, hey, this is not what I want to do. And he said, you know, you can do anything you want. It's up to you. You get to write your own canvas, so to speak, right, or paint your own canvas. And so, you know, ultimately I made the transition to business and then worked my way into law school from there. But probably not until about 3/4 of the way through college did I really realize that was kind of what I wanted to do. And, you know, I think we're given certain gifts that we can use to our benefit in life. And one of the gifts I've had has been the ability to communicate with other people. I think communicate a point for those that may not be able to communicate it themselves, to do it passionately. And so those things really work well, I think, as being a lawyer.
Do you remember a moment when you really kind of had that realization that, yeah, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing? Kind of a moment where either a case or helping somebody out where you just thought, yeah, this is the way I want to make my living.
Yeah, you know, it actually happens a lot. It happens a lot actually on the show when we have shows and we get calls and texts and emails about people that have real issues that they're really concerned about in their life. And I recognize that this show touches those people in a positive way where people are a lot of times, and we talk about this off you know, screen a lot, that people are intimidated to go to a lawyer. So hopefully we provide a platform where people are not intimidated and they can ask questions related to a personal injury matter or a bankruptcy or something important. But I do remember a case very early in my career where I represented a young lady that had been badly injured in an event. I won't go into all the details, but she was 17, 18, was in college and had gone through a really tough time. And I remember trying that case and resolving that case right before closing arguments, and just kind of her comments to me and the parents' comments to me made me recognize, man, I have landed in the right place. And I've never looked back since then. And that was way back in, you know, at the very beginning of my career, some 15, 16, 17 years ago. And I hadn't looked back, so it's been great. You know, the interesting thing too about lawyers, you know, people don't recognize this, and when I talk about it at Career Day, people are like, wow, I didn't realize that. You know, think about, you know, the Declaration of Independence, think about the Constitution, the current House, the Senate, the laws that we have. Roughly 50% of lawyers were involved in all of those things. 50% of the Declaration of Independence was signed by lawyers. 50% of the current Senate is lawyers. About 40% of the current House is lawyers. So lawyers play a super important role in society crafting the very laws that you and I abide by when we leave this studio and go to operate our vehicle, or when we have an issue that happens in our life and we have to go file a suit. Lawyers are super important in those things.
I want to go further down that road, but real quick, one of the things I get asked quite a bit of you all and about your firm is just kind of more about the firm in terms of when did it start? Okay, Hollis, Wright, kind of give us some of the history and what's the size of the firm and all that.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, the firm started back in 2001, January 25th of 2001, and we've been around since then. It started with my original business partner, Andy Hollis, and myself, and a couple secretaries. Left a firm that was a really good firm, but we decided we kind of want to do it on our own and do some different things. And so we left, and we slowly but surely grew that entity to what it is today, which is an entity that's got 7 lawyers and probably about 17, 18, 19 staff that does a lot of personal injury and wrongful death work and product liability work, and then also does some what we call mass tort work on the pharmaceutical side. And so we have grown the firm over the years. My original business partner, Andy Hollis, who's a great man, left the firm and retired back in 2012. So he's been gone about 5 years, and he's enjoying the good life out in retirement land. And then we brought some new partners on over the years, and we've just got a great partnership now with 4 partners at our law firm. And you know, we're really pleased to be able to practice law on a daily basis, and certainly to do this show to help people answer, like I said earlier, real issues that they face where they may be intimidated generally to contact a lawyer. But this is a forum where there should be no intimidation. They can call us for free, ask questions, text us, email us, whatever, and we'll answer those things.
Does sometimes, you mentioned it yourself, sometimes attorneys, and to some folks, attorneys are either beloved or they're maligned. There's not a lot of middle ground there. Does that bother you?
You know, it really doesn't. I do agree with that 100%. They are a lot of times considered polarized, if you will, or the view is polarizing of lawyers, I should say. It doesn't bother me because, you know, I think every sector of society, every business has its good and has its bad. You know, one of the issues that lawyers face, especially lawyers that do the type of work that I do, David, is that, you know, when you've got money damages involved, the concept and the perception of greed can play into it. Are lawyers partly to blame over the years in Alabama and in other states for that greed perception? And the answer is probably yes. They probably have overreached over the years. But I have found in my life that there is one group that always has the ability to set lawyers straight and to call it balls and strikes the way it should, and that's a jury and a judge. And they do a good job in civil cases, resolving disputes civilly, and I think they get it right a lot of the time. So I do think there's some folks out there that look at lawyers maybe with a negative connotation. Part of it may be greed-based, part of it may have been, you know, lawyers that have overreached over the years, but there's a lot of good that lawyers do. And when we come back, I want to talk about some of the cool stuff that lawyers do that people may not recognize.
Absolutely, we'll do that. We're stepping aside our first break of the evening. We'd love to have you join the conversation or take advantage of the opportunity to speak to an attorney from Hollis Wright live. Just call the number you see right there on your screen. Stay tuned, more of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, you can call, email, or text us. Or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys.
Welcome back into The Attorneys. Appreciate you being with us tonight. A reminder, before we get back to our conversation here, attorneys standing by right now to speak with you. So if you call that number, I promise you, somebody will either pick up the phone, or if they're not there, they'll get right back in touch with you. But an opportunity right now to get some great free legal advice. Talking with Josh Wright, kind of a different show tonight, but kind of peeling back the curtain of the life of an attorney. So let me ask you, what is a normal day, if there is such a thing for an attorney, but what's an average day look like for you?
Well, you know, days are different because of the types of things that lawyers do. Sometimes there are days when I'm in the office, and some days there are days when I'm absolutely going to be out of the office the entire time. Sometimes I'm on the road for multiple days, out of state or somewhere else. You know, I think an average or a typical day involves pleading practice, where lawyers file lawsuits. They used to do it physically, where you would go down to the courthouse and you would file a lawsuit with a clerk's office, and they would stamp it for you, bring it back, and then you had to send it out via mail to all the individuals that you had served as part of that lawsuit. Today, everything's done electronically, so it's a lot more efficient. So we don't have to have runners to go down to the courthouse anymore. But pleadings are a big component of what we do, whether it's filing motions to compel documents or requesting that a defendant turn over certain documents to us, or whether it's an out of the office day where I may, for example, be taking depositions, which, you know, I throw that term around a lot, but consumers may not understand what that means. You know, you see all these television shows out there, Law and Order and many others, where there's always this aha moment in every case, right? Where I duped that person, they didn't know that was coming. Well, unfortunately, the reality of law is it's a little less boring than that, or a little more boring than that, because there aren't a lot of aha moments. We go and take depositions which are out of court under oath statements of people, so we know exactly what they're going to say when they get to trial. And if they change that testimony, we have the documentation to show that this is what you said when this was more accurate on your mind. And so, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes I'm out of the office, whether it's deposition, sometimes it's pleading practice inside, and then a lot of times it's doing the things that we do right now. I mean, you know, let's not be confused. Although we provide a free service to people to ask lawyers questions, this is a form of marketing of our law firm. It's our way to give back to the community, but without question, it's a way to market to the community that we're an available firm that is here to be able to assist people when they have low points in life. And so a lot of it, what it is, and I know you help us on the side too, from a marketing perspective, is doing marketing and making sure that we're driving the firm on a moving forward basis in a positive direction.
Another phrase that is thrown around quite a bit, help us kind of walk us through this, an explainer of this, but you hear the terms criminal justice system and civil justice system. Help us understand the differences there.
Yes, so there's a significant difference. So the criminal justice system generally involves individuals who have been arrested of some form of crime and are going to be prosecuted in our legal system. The civil justice system, which is where our firm works, it's kind of our sweet spot, is where people resolve disputes in a civil way, whereas 200 years ago we resolved them at the courthouse square with guns, right? Today, thankfully, things have changed, and they've progressed and ascended in a positive direction, and we resolve our disputes civilly. And what's really cool about it is that the laws that we follow today, David, whether it's a tort case, whether it's a contract case, whether it's a collection case, those laws often have been created not just by legislators, but have been created by lawyers who are Supreme Court justices that have established certain forms of the law, or legislators that may be lawyers that understand the way the law should work, that have helped craft and mold the very statutes that we follow today. And so in the civil justice system, we have the ability to resolve our disputes civilly, and to do so on a daily basis. Now, here's a really interesting fact that a lot of people do not know about the civil justice system. I think people that sit on their couch watching this television show probably think to themselves, you know, I bet a vast majority of the suits filed in the country are from personal injury lawyers.
Right.
And the funny thing is only about 5 to 8% of all suits filed are personal injury lawyers. The remainder is businesses and collection matters, is bankruptcies, contractual disputes, are things that are not based on a personal injury case. We make up a very small component of the total system itself. And so the system is made up of divorces, adoption, child custody matters, collection matters, as I said, personal injury cases. We could go on and on and on about the different areas where lawyers play an important, significant role in the civil justice system.
A question we have, it's about another term we throw around a good bit, and that's contingency.
Yep.
First of all, what is contingency? And the question is, do all attorneys operate on contingency fees?
Yeah, and the answer is no. So here's how that works, and it's a really important question. There are people out there that are involved in issues in their lives. Call it, let's just take an example, a car accident case, where somebody is injured at no fault of their own by the negligence of somebody else. They were texting, driving, consuming alcohol, operating a vehicle, whatever the case may be. And that individual may not have the financial resources when they have been injured to be able to retain counsel.
Right.
And not just retain counsel, but retain counsel that can compete both financially and mentally with the other side, right? Mm-hmm. And so they need a mechanism by which they can hire a lawyer and get the same quality of service that traditionally has been handled by corporate America, right? And so the contingency fee allows them to do that. And how it works is this. If you sign a contingency fee contract, the client is never responsible generally, for most lawyers, and these are questions you need to ask, but it's never responsible for coming out of pocket, no matter what, whether you win, lose, whatever. And so you're never responsible for coming out of pocket a cent of your own money. If there is a recovery, then the lawyer will receive their expenses back and also receive a component of the settlement. And that's only if there's success in the case. And so what that does is it allows the individual that has been injured at no fault of their own to have the same quality of legal service that traditionally has been available for corporate America. On the corporate America side, oftentimes what happens is you have defense firms that are billing per hour at rates that are paid by corporate America to be able to defend them. And we look at corporate America in a broad sense. The reality is we have insurance companies out there, we have pharmaceutical companies out there,
right.
We have employers that may have been involved in discriminatory practices that hire defense firms on an hourly basis. And those are two very broad examples and categories, but that's kind of the way the system
right.
itself works. And it's a cool system, and it's why we strongly oppose any adjustments and manipulations to the contingency fee contract in the legislature.
You've traveled a good bit. How does our system compare globally?
You know, one of the really neat things that I love about our system and why I'm passionate about being a lawyer is that we have a criminal justice system where the standard and burden is so high to convict somebody that it is meant to be that high so that it ensures that an innocent person is not convicted, even though, David, we may allow some guilty people to go free. That to me is important. That's an important component to making sure society works. Because if in the other component to that is that we protect those even that have done wrong because they have constitutional rights. And what that does is it ensures that guys like me and you that may be doing it the right way aren't criminally convicted, and that we have rights and are protected if somebody tries to come and wrongfully prosecute us. So that's kind of one of the cool components of our society. And I think we compare from a democracy perspective, we compare really favorably nationally and globally, that we do it in a way that really is protective. When we come back, because I know we're getting ready to go to break, I do want to talk about some of the examples of how lawyers have been influential in society and changed the way that we look at whether it's products or things that happen in society on a daily basis. I want to talk about that because there's some really cool things that lawyers have done over the years.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of the list. It is amazing, the things we take for granted. All right, we're headed to our final break. As we do so, just a few minutes remaining for you to take advantage of the opportunity to speak with the attorneys at Hollis Wright. Also, a reminder, you can follow the firm on Facebook. Just search that term, Hollis Wright. You'll find them there on Facebook and also on Twitter. It's Hollis_Wright. Stay tuned. More of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Tyler Vail with the law firm of Hollis Wright. As with any industry, it's important in the legal world to hire an attorney that is knowledgeable and has a track record of success. But with so many attorneys out there and so many different types of cases, how does someone decide the right lawyer to hire? In this week's Legal 411, we're answering the question, what should I consider in hiring an attorney? In-state versus out-of-state, big firm or little firm? Recommendations from friends or family, the internet, the phone book, or TV. With so many choices and so much information, it can be an overwhelming task trying to make the right decision. To complicate things, choosing a lawyer is an important and sometimes life-affecting decision and should not be taken lightly. So how do you select an attorney? Do your research. Look the firm up on the internet. Ask friends and family whether they know or have any experience with a specific firm. If you know any local lawyers, ask them about the reputation of the firms you may be considering. Call a local law office and ask if they are handling cases like yours. There's a good chance they can help you, but if they can't, they can always refer you to someone they respect who handles your type of case. And remember, ask questions face to face. Ask about their experience in handling cases like yours, how often someone from their office will be available to you, and what you can expect during the process. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you.
There is certainly a diversity of opinion about attorneys. Welcome back into the show. Just about 6 minutes remaining, so if you want to take advantage of the opportunity to speak to an attorney from Hollis Wright, pick up the phone and give them a call right now. There's a list here of the advantages that we enjoy, thanks to, it really kind of traces back to a case in court. Run down some of the advantages that we enjoy thanks to the work of attorneys.
Yeah, lawyers have played a super important role in crafting the way that a lot of society runs. I mean, take some examples. When you get in your car today and you use your window and you roll your window down, you now have buttons that you have to pull up in order to get your windows to move, right? And it used to be, if you remember in the old days, they had the switches that just went left and right. Well, we had children that were being strangled sitting outside of windows when their parents were washing their car or whatever, and so we worked through that. Lawyers were involved in a lot of the litigation involved to try and make that safer. So now those buttons are protected. Take Firestone tires and the 271 deaths that happened with Firestone tires. Tires are safer today than they ever were before. Drug litigation, research and development would never be done the way it is today to make sure that drugs are safe. The FDA does a good job, but the FDA is overworked and understaffed. And so lawyers play a really critical role in making sure that drugs that we put in our body are safe and are going to be medicinal for our children that use those drugs. And so, those are just some shining examples. We could go through a whole host of others, but lawyers have been involved in a lot of really cool stuff that has changed kind of the way we use things on a daily basis.
And we do take it for granted. I mean, a great deal, you and I both are parents, a great deal of the protections that our children enjoy again, go back to a lawsuit, right?
Look at choking hazards and the way that we now rank and rate certain products. And I look at that stuff, and not as much anymore because my kids are getting older, but I did at the time. And look at lead and lead paint, and the fact that we, for the most part, don't have lead paint in homes anymore, and you're certainly not allowed to paint with it moving forward. Look at how asbestos has been eliminated for adults that were in the working environment. Lawyers played roles in all of those things to make sure that those products were safer. And are there a small sector of lawyers out there that get a bad name for some of the things they do? Without question. There's just no doubt about that, David. And that happens in any industry, whether it's politics, whether it's in the business world, whatever it may be. But on the whole, there are lawyers out there that have done a great job of making sure that the products and the things that we use on a daily basis are much safer than they were before lawyers.
Do you hear the phrase, hold their feet to the fire, hold them accountable, hit them where it hurts? Oftentimes it does take that's kind of a part of the role of the justice system, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not a perfect system, and this is how I explain it to juries. We don't put corporate America in jail because there's no civil jail. We assign money damages. It is not a perfect system at all. It is a practical system, though. It is one that has shown over time and been resilient that it does work, that financially, from a corporate America perspective, money damages impact the way that corporate America acts on a daily basis. And so money damages is the means by which we civilly resolve our disputes. And like I said earlier, it's not perfect. Right. It's not the greatest system ever, but it's a practical system that has withstood the tell of time.
About a minute or so remaining in the program tonight, but just a final thought from you. What do you want to leave our viewers with?
I love being a lawyer, and I hope it comes out in this television show we do weekly. I'm very passionate about it, and I love what I do. I've committed not just my life to it, but of course my wife and my kids' life and my family to it. It's something I'm real passionate about. I'm also very passionate about this show. I think sometimes people don't realize that although it's intimidating to talk with a lawyer, we should provide a free ability of that individual to be able to ask a question. And if we can't help you because it's not within the sweet spot of what we do, we can get you in touch with somebody that does. Right. And all they have to do is call, text, and email. I'm passionate about the show, passionate about being a lawyer, and love doing the show because it just makes me excited about what I do and the choices I made many years ago to be a lawyer.
This has been a fun show.
Absolutely. You've done a good job.
Well, I appreciate it. Enjoy this conversation and learned a whole lot. Hope you have as well. I want to thank you for joining us as always. We do appreciate you being with us each and every Sunday night. Thanks again for being with us as we wrap up. Ways you can get in touch with the firm of Hollis Wright. Take advantage of that. And we'll see you next week right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.